Hi, welcome back to the Advocacy Update. I'm Jennifer, and this is Cory from MOAA's Government Relations team. And Congress is back from their August recess, so we want to talk to you about a few deadlines that are coming up. So let's talk appropriations first. Define appropriations and what we're dealing with here.
Well, in the big picture, that's the funding of our government. So the way it's broken down is you have 12 different bills, each with subcommittees that have different jurisdiction, and they come up with the overall funding mechanism. So the two that we're focused on are obviously the defense appropriations, and then there's also the military construction / VA funding bill. Those are two separate bills, but that Congress needs to work and push through.
What are some examples of things that would be in the MILCON VA bill versus the defense bill?
So what you see are like child development centers, barracks, overall just base improvements, all go through that. And then obviously the VA side is all encompassing for everything VA there.
All right, so we've been talking a lot about the basic allowance for housing, and one of our goals is to get it restored to 100%, which we've seen a little glimpse of in the House National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA, the restoration or absorption of 1%. Is that enough, or does that have to be included in appropriations, and if so, which one?
Right, so that's a great question, and that's something that's really important that because it does need to get funded. It's not just enough to have the authorization aspect. The money needs to come with it. I mean, technically, DoD could raise BH back to 100% on their own, but they haven't, and that's why getting that funding directed through the appropriations, specifically the defense appropriations bill, is so critical.
Okay, excellent. All right, so when do these appropriations bills have to be passed?
So the deadline for funding the government is the 30th of September every year. And what we often see is that tends to slip. And the government either shuts down or we have what's called a continuing resolution, or CR.
Which is the thing I talked with Mark about,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that's good. Do you think we're getting a CR this year?
Every indication is yes. Yeah. So the deadline is tight right now, and we're already starting to see that both parties are talking about getting a CR to give themselves more time. A
little bit more time? Okay.
Exactly.
And we've seen some radical approaches or some people who've suggested some radical things, like maybe not paying lawmakers who fail to get appropriations across the table. Do you ever see that happening?
I think that would be very tough to have lawmakers decide not to pay themselves. It's a good talking point, but when it comes to shove, probably not. Got
it. Okay. And so what else are we tracking? What other deadlines?
So the other thing we're watching, obviously, is the NDAA. So doesn't have as firm of a deadline as the appropriations do with the funding of the government to avoid shutdown, but there are still some very important deadlines when it comes to that.
Okay. So if they got their act together and passed an NDAA, let's say October 15th, but we are still under a continuing resolution. Is that when the stuff that I talked about with Mark comes up?
Exactly. It's the interplay of both of those, making sure that actually happens, because if you have new programs in the NDA, that the money's not there because it's being directed elsewhere, you need to have those two working simultaneously together.
Okay, what happens if first of all, let's talk about the record of the NDAA. How many years in a row has it passed? It's considered a must-pass.
Right, exactly. We're at 62 years. Hopefully have this be 63, and that's of critical importance, because at the end of the year, December 31st is kind of the deadline we watch there, because ultimately there's a lot in that bill, and every single day we wait gives DoD less time to actually put that stuff into place. But there's also important things like bonus authorities when you're in a recruiting crisis. Those are vital.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you tuning in again. If you are enjoying these videos, please make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.